Hillary Clinton is once again being forced to respond to the email scandal or controversy or whatever they're calling it, and this time she's getting emotional. But first, she wants to make very clear, because people criticized her for not admitting how sorry she was before, that she is very, 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 very sorry this time.
That was a mistake. I'm sorry about that. I take responsibility, and I'm trying to be as transparent as I possibly can.
So she's trying to be very transparent. She's trying to be very comprehensive, too. So you saw her there indoors saying she's sorry. She's also venturing outside to say that she's sorry.
I'm sorry! I'm sorry, Wilson! Wilson, I'm sorry! I'm sorry!
So she's very sorry, and she threw the server in the ocean. She can't get it back anymore.
Oh my gosh.
We'll never know what was on it.
So I think that it's a good thing that she's being a little more transparent with the media. She's not known for granting many interviews to the press. And I think she finally realized, all right, I need to set the record straight on this issue. Now, the more information that comes out about these emails, the less interested I am, to be honest with you, because there is no scandal. What she did was not deemed, illegal by the Justice Department, correct? So I don't know why this is a big deal. The emails that were sent out that are now reported as classified emails were apparently not classified when she received them or at the time she received them. At least that's the argument she's making. Nonetheless, based on what we know at this point, there is no scandal. And right now, the right wing Republicans are doing whatever they can to blow this out of proportion, just like they did with Benghazi, and they're very successful at doing that. Now, keep in mind, I'm not a fan of Hillary Clinton. I don't intend on voting for Hillary Clinton. I would much rather vote for a third-party candidate before I voted for Hillary Clinton. Going to keep it real with you. But that being said, I just don't see why this is such a big deal.
Yeah, I don't know that anyone can articulate why it's a big deal. They can articulate why it's important enough that she should get out of the race without being specific about what this is supposed to say about how she would be as president, that she relayed some information that was technically classified but was being openly said by the State Department because it was just known information, or that she received classified information. I receive a lot of emails every day that I have no interest in, and I certainly didn't solicit, so that you could criticize her for receiving an email. And the idea that, she's this big political figure in the news these days. Trump's the other one. Imagine if Trump had gotten some information in an email. You think his supporters would be busting his balls over it? They wouldn't care for a second.
They wouldn't care for a second. But then also, on top of that, the way Trump would deal with it would be so dismissive, yet also very, very strategically correct. And what I mean by that is Trump has been very unapologetic about the rightful criticism he's received for a number of different things, including the defamatory things he said about Mexican immigrants, right? And with Hillary, I'm glad she's being transparent. She's acknowledging that she did something that she shouldn't have done, even though what she did wasn't considered illegal, right? Or wasn't, deemed wrong at the time. But I feel like the way she's handled it isn't as smart as it could have been, because she's kind of egging herself on, I guess, or she's piling on herself by saying...
she's digging deeper by waiting longer and stuff like that,
She's waiting longer, and then when she does respond, she responds with an apology. All people are going to hear is that apology, right?
And then all they're going to remember is her floating in the ocean, yelling at a volleyball for the rest of the campaign. And she's very... I've criticized her before for being artificial and not being able to show any normal human warmth, and you see it again in this. And she says, and I'm very sorry about that, and I'm being responsible for it. Yes, so you're supposed to get into the media's head that you're taking responsibility. You don't do that by saying, I'm being responsible for that. Because they don't agree. They don't think on the other side that you're being responsible. You can't simply say it, and it just comes across as weak and robotic and being a normal politician.
Yes, that's a great point. And that's the thing that turns people off to politicians like Hillary Clinton. She's a career politician. Whereas Trump, who is, I almost called him Tramp, weird Freudian slip, right?
Slut-shaming now. That's nice.
Whereas Trump is not a career politician, and even though he's a loathsome human being, he resonates more with people, with the average American, because he doesn't seem robotic. He seems genuine and authentic.
Yeah. The only thing I'll disagree with is I don't think it's the average American. I think it is a particular breed of conservative not particularly well-informed American. I don't think it's the average American.
Well, he is leading in polls regarding the national general election.
I think that that's Americans' natural inclination when the election isn't in the next couple of months to just say, let's set the entire country on fire. I'm not even joking. I think that they all want to say, you know, fuck politics, fuck the politicians, fuck the political parties, fuck elections. Let's just burn the whole thing down. And then as it gets closer and closer to there actually being an election, and they think, oh, wait, this person's going to be choosing Supreme Court justices, and this person's going to be setting tax policy, that sort of thing, I think they'll start to take it a little bit more seriously.
Yeah, you might be right about that. Well, actually, I know you're right about that, because as voters notice that the election date's coming closer, they start educating themselves on the issues a lot more. Right now, a lot of the polling is based on name recognition.
Yeah.
And the two names that you hear over and over again in the press is unfortunately Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
Well, Miley Cyrus as well. Okay,
she'd probably be polling at 15%. Yeah, you're totally right. And that's why you see the... Well, and Biden isn't even running, but all of a sudden he's beating Bernie Sanders in some polls. Does anybody know what he's going to be running based on? No, they simply know his name because he's been in the news for the past 8 years.
I feel like the show should just be a constant, you know, news stream of Bernie Sanders, just to get his name out there more. Because
we're trying.
We are.
Yeah,
I love him.
Now.
He's the best.
So despite the fact that she said in that first clip that she is sorry and she's being responsible, she's also going to attempt to, in the continuation of this interview, sort of pivot to other things. And I'm just going to say that I think that the way she tries to invoke the legacy of her mother, which you're going to see here, and when she does show emotion, as I said in the beginning, it does again show that she is at heart kind of a robot. Let's watch.
I want to know, in your most private of moments, is there ever an instance when you ask yourself, why am I doing this again?
Yes, of course, because it really is hard, and it's something that you know, just demands everything, physically, emotionally, spiritually. It is just 24/7. I cherish and love this country. It gave me, you know, opportunities far beyond anything my mother or my father could have had. As you probably know, my mother had a terrible childhood. She was abandoned by her parents. She was rejected by her grandparents. She was literally working as a housemaid at the age of 14. And she told me every day, you've got to get up and fight for what you believe in, no matter how hard it is. And I think about her a lot. I miss her a lot. I wish she were here with me. And I remember that. And I don't want to just fight for me. I mean, I can have a perfectly fine life not being president. I'm going to fight for all the people like my mother who need somebody in their corner. And they need a leader who cares about them again.
So she's getting choked up there.
Yeah.
Could very well be genuine. I realize that I'm being cynical just in even assuming that it might not be. But it feels artificial. It feels like trying to do that thing that politicians do where they say that it's not about me and it's not about a campaign, it's about a movement. It's about all those people like Jackie who I met in Kansas City. They all have to do that now.
Yeah, it reminds me of the debates that always take place, you know, between Democrats, Republicans, doesn't matter. They always do the same thing where they'll recite an anecdote of some sort to kind of, you know, play into the emotions of the people watching the debate. And in this case, it seems like the same thing. Although the stories she's telling are true. You know, her mother did go through all of that. I don't know if she's really pursuing the presidency in an effort to represent people like her mom, but especially when she's a corporatist and she hasn't done much in terms of, you know, getting rid of corporate tax loopholes, you know, regulating the banking system so they don't screw us over again. Those are the big issues that I wish she'd focus on. But yeah, it does sound like a very rehearsed response to the criticism.
Yeah.
And that's what politicians do. She's a career politician. This is to be expected.
I would expect her to be a little bit more experienced at it, a little bit more subtle at it, to have a little bit more art to it. And anyway, look, we're focusing on her attempts to sort of manage the PR aspect of this and to try to convince assholes like me that she is actually sorry so that she can move past it. And so I'm criticizing her, but I do want her to be able to move past it. It is absolute nonsense. We could play a game. We could go back and forth with every politician. Can we name something they've done that is worse than this that was not a disqualifier for them to make it into office? Like starting wars, outing CIA agents, bombing American citizens abroad with drones. The idea that anything we could find, let alone have found in these emails, rises to the level of things that John Boehner routinely does or Ted Cruz routinely says. It's just absolute nonsense.
I guess the good thing is that this is happening so early on in the election cycle. Because remember, there's over a year, more than a year before the election takes place. And in the world of politics, that is a lifetime.
Yeah.
So it really depends on how Republicans play this as well. If they're going to be as relentless as they were with Benghazi, then they're going to keep using this and keep referring to this as some sort of terrible scandal. But I feel like by the time we get closer to the actual election day, so many other things are going to happen that this is probably going to be forgotten about.